Welcome back everyone. Time to do another comparison between the brand new Google Pixel 4a and the 2018 flagship from Pixel, the Pixel 3. Now, there's some big differences between these two for sure, but what I will tell you though is that the brand new Pixel 4a is costing $350, where the Pixel 3 actually costs, as of this point right now, less than $300 pretty much everywhere I've been seeing it. And on Amazon, they're selling for about $270. So I'll leave one of these linked down below if you want to pick them up from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, the Pixel 4a was given to me by Google, but I'm being completely transparent with what I think. Like, they didn't pay me. I wish they did. If they had paid me, then maybe I would have changed my opinion. I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. I want to accept their money, but I'll accept their products. And I'll be honest, I think the Pixel 4a, is a good phone. I think for the price it is, I think it's actually a pretty great phone, to be honest, but it's not perfect and it has a couple of quirks. The Pixel 3, on the other hand, I think is actually a pretty good phone for the price that you're paying for, and considering the fact that it's cheaper than a brand new Pixel 4a in the used market of the Pixel 3, I think it's actually a pretty decent pickup, to be honest. So I'll go ahead and get into nitty gritty. I'll give my opinion later on and throughout this whole entire video, but starting off with the front, the Pixel 3 has a 5.5-inch OLED display. It's 1080p and it's actually not a bad panel. I think I've said this a billion times before, but I've kind of always liked the Pixel 3. I never found it to be a horrible looking panel or anything, and I'm glad the Pixel 3 didn't have the same notch as the Pixel 3 XL, because that is probably the weirdest looking phone I've ever seen in my life. It makes me so uncomfortable. The Pixel 3 though is way more symmetrical, it's way more even, and it's pretty much almost the same thing as the Pixel 4 a little bit, but just with a, a bigger bezel on the bottom. And I like the design of the Pixel 3, you know what I mean? I don't think it looks bad. Of course, when you look at a lot of phones in the market now, especially with like the S20, the Note 20s, those phones look better, but this phone has its place, and I don't think people would really care about the bezel too much. So I think it looks good for the most part. You also have those front-facing speakers too, which is really nice. Now in the Pixel 4a, on the other hand, you do have a little bit of a different design. So you have a 5.81-inch OLED display, so a little bit bigger than the Pixel 3, but they share the same pixels per inch, so the screen density is the same. You have 1080p display on that too. And, you have HDR, I guess, and always on display, things like that. Those little minor things you have on both. But the Pixel 4a does have a really cool feature of not having a notch, not having a bottom bezel, but just having that hole punch display. And the fact that this phone looks more premium than the Pixel 4 and more premium than the Pixel 3 is pretty crazy, considering this is the cheapest phone that, Google as a manufacturer, as a phone manufacturer, is making right now. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind. A phone like the Pixel 4a shouldn't really look like this. It should look more like a Pixel 3 for the price that you're, getting it for, but it doesn't. So in terms of the front, I'll definitely tell you the Pixel 4a looks better. And, there's almost a 2-year difference between these two, and just look how far we've came with the way a flagship is perceived from Google and the way the budget phone is perceived from Google. There's some really huge, developments that are happening here, which, I think is great. They're not the only ones doing it though. Samsung has been killing it with their flagships and their budget phones recently, and OnePlus also with the OnePlus Nord, but this is just another addition with that. You have USB Type-C on the bottom of both these phones, but you also have a headphone jack on the Pixel 4a, which is really impressive. The Pixel 3 does not have a headphone jack, but you have it on the Pixel 4a, which is really, really cool, and I really do like that. And on the back, different types of back, but kind of the same. These phones are pretty much built out of plastic for the most part. You have a little bit of like some shiny glass, I think, on the top of the Pixel 3, but it's pretty much built out of plastic for the most part. You have single camera setups as well, but the camera setups are a little bit different. As you can see, the Pixel 3's camera looks exactly like the Pixel 3a's, where the Pixel 4a's camera is a little bit different. So I definitely do like the Pixel 4a's camera setup, but the Pixel 3, I don't know, I kind of like that a little bit more if it's a single camera setup. I feel like the Pixel 4a is trying to be like an iPhone 11 Pro kind of thing, but it is what it is. It's not a big deal. Well, actually it looks just like the Pixel 4, so I guess it's trying to be like a Pixel 4. When you're feeling both in the hand, one really doesn't feel crazy more premium than the other one, but the Pixel 3, I think it feels like the better one. You also have IP certification on the Pixel 3. You have IP68 dust and water resistance, where the Pixel 4a does not have any IP certification. So if you get water on it, it might survive like a quick little drip, but if you actually go and like dip it into water and leave it there for a second, take it out, it might actually, fry some components inside. So a pretty big thing to keep in mind. So that really pretty much covers up the outside for the most part. There's really not too much more to hit on there. In terms of software, this is where things are a little bit different and probably will make people want to pick up the Pixel 4a over the Pixel 3. So the Pixel 3 started off with Android Pie. you're going to get Android 10 on it. It's going to get Android 11, it's going to get Android 12, and that's probably going to stop at Android 12, where the Pixel 4a is actually probably going to get at least a year addition on top of the Pixel 3. So the Pixel 4a is starting off with Android 10, you're going to get Android 11, 12, and then 13. It's probably going to end up stopping at Android 13. I feel like with the Pixel 4a and the whole entire A series, including the 3a and 3a XL, are going to follow their same counterparts of basically their number that they're associated with of the flagship Google line. So the 3a, 3a XL are probably going to match the Pixel 3 and the 3 XL in terms of software updates, and same thing with the Pixel 4. The 4a is going to match the 4 XL and the 4, and it's probably going to make more sense that way. So in terms of software, that's pretty much the software longevity support, but I'll still tell you, stock Android is great. These phones are probably going to get tons of custom ROM support from now until when these things are done being supported. So it really doesn't matter what happens now, but I'll definitely tell you, software-wise, they're both going to be really great. They're still going to last you for a couple more years, but even when they're done getting software support, you're still going to be able to go and upgrade these phones in terms of custom ROMs and move on from there. So even though these things, will end up dying eventually, they're still going to get software support one way or another, which is really cool. So in terms of software, that pretty much covers it. Now hitting on the performance, you have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 chipset on the Pixel 3, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 630 GPU, and 4 gigs of RAM on both the models that the Pixel 3 has. So the 64 gig base model, 128 gig top tier model, where the Pixel 4a, I can't even talk today, has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 730 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 618 GPU, and 6 gigs of RAM. There's only one model of the Pixel 4a, and it is that 128 gig model with the 6 gigs of RAM. And I can tell you from performance, I will say first of all, both phones kind of feel the same smoothness. So when I'm opening up things, when I'm closing things, they both kind of feel the same. I don't feel like one is way higher or way better in terms of smoothness factor, which I think is a very important thing to kind of hit on in the beginning with. But when it comes down to the actual performance, maybe the 4a is a little bit better. I feel like you're, first of all, with the more RAM, you're able to store more apps in the background and retrieve them at a later time. With the Pixel 3 though, I just feel like it's just still a smooth device. I feel like it's still fast. These Pixel phones are never the most, powerful phones of their time. We have phones, even when the Pixel 3 came out, we had phones like the S8, and even we had phones like the S9 and the iPhone XS that came out the same year. And the Pixel 3 wasn't, a tremendously powerful phone at that time, but it still has held up pretty well. And I think it's a pretty good performing phone. Definitely not amazing. And I think the Pixel 4a kind of falls into that same category. Definitely not the best performing phone, not an amazingly overpowerful phone, but a good performing phone for the most part. And really whatever you're going to do with it, it's going to be perfectly fine. And I think that's probably the biggest asset for the Pixel 4a, is that it's a cheap phone with pretty good performance. And I think that's really it, you know what I mean? So in terms of performance, what I'll tell you is the Pixel 3 is great for the most part for the price you're paying for and everything. And I think the Pixel 4a is also great. And I don't think one is, tremendously faster than the other one, but I still feel like the Pixel 3 is, I think, the smoother one when it comes down to it. So that pretty much covers it up in terms of the performance. Now hitting on the cameras, they both have single camera setups, and it's almost like they are the exact same sensors. You have 12.2 megapixel sensors on both. Both can do 4K at 30, and I think both cameras are great. I don't think one really blew the other one out of the water. I feel like the Pixel 4a software is better though. I feel like it optimized better than what the Pixel 3 could have done. But I still think both cameras are great. They cannot do 4K at 60, so that's a common problem for both. But still, I feel like, even then, I feel like Google could have done way better on the 4a, or even just the Pixel 4 in the beginning with, but it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. So both cameras are still great, I think. On the front, 8 megapixel sensors, however, a little bit different. On the Pixel 3, you have an 8 megapixel wide-angle lens, then an 8 megapixel ultra-wide sensor, and you have 2 camera sensors, which is really cool. On the Pixel 4a, just a single 8 megapixel sensor. Not a crazy big deal, but still would have been nice had we had, extra sensor, but there's not a lot of phones that have multiple camera sensors on the front, so it's totally okay. I totally understand. So in terms of the cameras, that pretty much covers it up. Now ending it off with the battery life, the Pixel 3 had a 2,915 mAh battery. The Pixel 4a has a 3,140 mAh battery, and definitely when it comes down to it, I feel like, the battery life may be better on the Pixel 4a, but the Pixel 3 does have wireless charging, which is a battery feature, and a lot of people say maybe it should include in the battery, but I think it it is a battery feature, and it is nice to have something like that. It is nice to have a little bit of battery here and there, and also wireless charging. So I don't know why Google didn't put it in the 4a. They're just like, they bring it in sometimes, they take it away. Like I said before, the Nexus 4 from 2012 or 2013 had it, and that was like this almost the same price as this phone. So it's weird they didn't bring it in, but it is what it is. So in terms of everything, which one should you pick up? Should you pick up the 4a? Should you pick up the 3? Should you pick up neither of these? I'll be honest, as I said before, I think the Pixel 4a, tremendous phone for the price, and if you're trying to get a brand new phone, I don't even think you can buy brand new Pixel 3s anymore, so the Pixel 4a, tremendous option. If it's between these two, I think I would probably pick up the Pixel 4a. You know, it's very hard for me to justify getting a Pixel 3 when the Pixel 4a is right there. But I think for people who want to save a little bit more money, if you want to save like an extra $100, getting a used Pixel 3 may be a better way to go. Like I said, there's a lot of capability there. It's not going away anytime soon. There's some, weird problems here and there. It doesn't have like the best looking screen. The refresh rate is, the same as everything else. The software support isn't as much as the Pixel 4a, but I still think you're getting a really, really good phone in terms of everything else. So that really pretty much covers it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count. So it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.